everyone. We are about to start the today webinar on NSF digital platform with the expatriates in Japan and with the experts in Sri Lanka. As per the program today, the first item is welcome and opening remarks. I cordially invite Professor Ranjit Senaratne, Chairman, National Science Foundation, to welcome and deliver the opening remarks. Over to you, sir.
Aiboan. Good evening, Professor Sri Principal License Point of Japan, Professor Monty Kasim, Professor Ananda Kumara, and other distinguished Sri Lankans joining the webinar from Japan. And good afternoon, our Sri Lankan colleagues, Dr. Nanda Gunawardhan, our principal contact point in Sri Lanka, Dr. Sunil Jantanavaratna, the former Secretary Higher Education, Mr. Dharmini Marabe, and other colleagues and friends joining from Sri Lanka. We are truly delighted to be associated with Sri Lankans living and working in Japan. I see a galaxy of high profile and high voltage figures joining this webinar, and we feel an installer in your presence. And when you see Japan, it's not just another country. And we know it is the third largest economy in the world, one of the most entrepreneurial and technological nation in the world. Country was very badly damaged during the Second World War, 1945. But by 1965, they emerged as the second most powerful technological powerhouse in the world. So we are seeing our Sri Lankans living in this great country. So as the chairman of National Science Foundation, that is the premier assent institution mandated to promote science and technology for the social development of Sri Lanka, I extend the most warm and cordial welcome to our distinguished participants joining the webinar, especially from Japan, and also our colleagues from Sri Lanka. If I get down to brass tacks straight away, we know Sri Lanka now, more than 72 years after independence. Ours is still a developing country with a GDP of around 4,000 or little less than, but Japan has over 47,000, more than 12 times ours. And this is despite very rich natural resource base, very high agroclimatic potential, very high literacy rate over around 95, and also strategic location. And if we look at this GDP, it is directly related to the number of SLT personnel in the country. In Sri Lanka, per million of population, we have only full-time equivalents around little over 110 according to UNESCO. But even India has more than 200, Pakistan 300, and developed countries, economies over 4,000 SMT personnel per million. And Japan, I found that is over 5,000, about 4,300. So our country, if we want to really leapfrog towards development, we cannot increase our SMT base overnight in a short period of time. But we have over 3 million Sri Lankan expatriates serving mainly in developed economies, of whom 15 to 25% are professionals and with scientific background. We see that this is hitherto an untapped and untouched potential. In the past, there have been several attempts made to harness this potential, but it has not been really successful due to various reasons. That is why now this intellectual capital available overseas of Sri Lankan origin, we thought harnessing in a very methodical and systematic, also sustainable way by developing this digital platform, which in our opinion provide a very pragmatic and credible platform to harness Sri Lankans living overseas for national development. If I am permitted to say a few words, I hope we don't have any colleagues, Tamil friends joining from Japan. This Professor Atula Sumutipala, NIFS chairman, එතුමා කියනවා මේ අපේ මේ ශ්‍රී ලංකේන ගතින් විදේශීය වුණාට හදවතින් සහ මනසින් දේශීය. ඒ වගේම එසේම ජාති හිතයිෂී දේශමාමක රට ගැන ලොකු හදගැස්මක් තියෙනවා. රටට මව්බිමට තමන්ගේ ශක්ති ප්‍රවාහණයෙන් තමන්ගේ තියෙන සම්බන්ධතාවලින් තමන්ගේ ප්‍රවීණතාවලින් මව්බිමට උදව් කිරීමට දැඩි අභිලාෂයෙන් බලාපොරොත්තු සිටිනවා. ඒ නිසා අපි කියනවා මේ platform එක digital platform එක මේට ඉතා වැදගත් වශයෙන් පාදක වෙයි කියලා. මේ platform එක හැදීම අත් වශයෙන් සිදුවන්නේ now here we have this Fluscom. The Vice President Mr. Ashik will speak about the platform, but it will carry relevant data facilitating partnership building between expatriates, the scientists, the professional Sri Lankan origin overseas, with those in Sri Lanka. So it will carry national priorities, intellectual resource base in Sri Lanka in various fields, but intellectual resources available, for instance, nanotech, biotech, artificial intelligence, and so on, and what high-end equipment available in our country. All those will be fed into the platform, and our priorities, and also technical resources available in our country. Now, in the event of breakdown, we try to set it right without wasting time, so that we'll ensure more or less zero downtime of our equipment. So that all this information we will feed into the platform. And now we have got over 700 Sri Lankans registered with the platform from abroad. So their biodata also fed into the system. And also now we are trying to group them into different fields depending on their interest. So if we, for instance, those who are in nanotech in Sri Lanka and those who are nanotech in overseas, so that we will be facilitating matchmaking through this platform. So likewise, more details will be given by Professor Prasad and also Mr. Ashik. So this platform could really afford benefit across the whole spectrum of the economy. To start with, initially we pay attention to higher education and science and technology, but we like very much the industry to benefit from this through technology transfer, foreign direct investment, export promotion, trade, even tourism. So many areas could benefit from this platform if it is properly managed and utilized. So if we talk about key features of this, it provides a two-way conduit. It's not just one way from overseas to Sri Lanka. And so from Sri Lanka to foreign countries where Sri Lankans living. So that it will be a two-way process which will lead to forging mutually rewarding and reinforcing partnership. So that would be sustainable. So it will be a win-win situation. Sometimes in certain instances, it may be one way, but on the whole, it is not one way, it's a two-way. So both partners will benefit and it would be rewarding. And now Sri Lanka, actually we know one reason for lagging behind in terms of economic development, I think the academics, the scientists have not been really playing their role in economic development, policy formulation, and so on. I think there was no mechanism to also weld them together into a dynamic and vibrant force. But this platform will do that, so that this platform, National Science Foundation, and it's the Sri Lankan scientists, professionals, and entrepreneurs join forces with Sri Lankans overseas, and that will become a guiding force, that will become a Lord Star, that will become a biological force to drive the economic development and put the country on an upward trajectory. We know countries like Hong Kong, Singapore, Korea. I saw Dr. Navaratna here. He's well versed in these things. So within 10 years, from 4,000 to 12,000, they became developed countries. Now even now China and Malaysia, now they are from 4,000 to 11,000 within a period of 10 years, they have been able to achieve. So we think that this platform will really be a catalyst, will be a locomotive to drive our economic development and propelling it to a next category, that is the developed country. So I think this is basically what I want to say. So though we talk about the Sri Lankans here, but you know, Sri Lankans having network, global network. We are living in a world which is interdependent and interconnected. No country can live independently. So it's a globally interdependent. So we also use this platform, and our distinguished expatriates, Sri Lankan, our scientists of Sri Lankan origin, to develop this, this spread this our network through their contacts to non-Sri Lankans, but ultimately forge mutually rewarding partnerships. So I think that is basically what this is about. NFS is strongly committed to this, and as NSF now we have now two members from our board there, Dr. Sunil. Presently he is also Director General of National Institute of Education, and Professor Anand Javadena, who is on the board of also of UGC. You see, we all work together as a cohesive team, and we are keen to forge organic partnership with our Sri Lankans living overseas. Organic කියන එක මම සිංහලෙන් උත්සාහ කරොත් කියන්න මවයි දරුවා අතර තියෙන සම්බන්ධතාවය ඓන්ද්‍රිය සම්බන්ධතාවය ඒක අපිට මේ වචන වලින් විස්තර කරන්න අමාරුයි. So we are trying to contribute to our motherland. ඒ වගේම we have our association with motherland, that is also ඓන්ද්‍රිය. And so we look forward to forging organic partnership with you in a mutually rewarding and reinforcing manner. And with these brief opening remarks, I will stop here and make way for Mr. Santa to proceed with the program. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your very inspiring and enlightening speech. It gave in overall the objectives and overall scope of the platform and way forward future plan as well. I think well explained, and it laid the concrete foundation for the to proceed. So thank you very much. And the next item is addressed by Dr. Nanda Gunawardana. He is the current Director, Research and International Relations of the Sri Lanka Technological Campus. He is also the principal liaison point for Sri Lanka. Dr. Nanda Gunawardana was former Director of the International Affairs Office of the University of Peradeniya. He has vast experience in international related research and cooperation. So over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shantasri. Professor Anji Senaratna, Chairman of the NSF and NSF team, Sri Lankan scientist. Good afternoon, scientists. Good evening. At the outset, I would like to thank organizing committee of NSF for inviting me to join this kind of discussion. Actually, I want to highlight a couple of things from my experience working with Japan. Then after came back to Sri Lanka, I had a chance to work with many Sri Lankan expatriates in Japan and Japanese scholars. And I am happy and proud to say that I had the chance to develop many research and exchange collaborations with many Japanese scientists. I think I want to highlight one fact. Very recently, there was some Sri Lankans conduct a survey among Sri Lankan academics. Actually, they have found that the staff members did higher degree, especially masters and PhD in Japan. They have published more papers per paper per year than the staff members graduate from other countries. I think that is a kind of significant achievement. It says, even though after coming back to Sri Lanka, they have continued their collaborations and research and engage in research while doing academic activities. So I think that is one indicator. And I think from my experience, I can say we can develop many programs. For an example, while I was in University of Peradeniya, we were able to get 500 million rupees SATRAP project with the support of our Japanese expatriate. And also we have developed many research collaborations with the support of JICA. In addition to that, we have developed many student exchange program under Sakura Science program. I think NSF can take leadership to develop one Sakura Science program, this kind of national project to improve science and technology, especially in our school kids and young scientists. Those are the venues that we can explore with the support of Japanese Sri Lankan expatriate in Japan and Japanese scientists. And while I was in University of Peradeniya, we started Sri Lanka Japan Study Center in 2013. After that, we started annual conference with the support to and showcase our research collaborations with Japanese scientists. Every year we get more than 50, sometimes maybe 25 to 50, I should say, Japanese scholars and Japanese scientists. Then they deliver their research outcome to showcase our active collaborations. In addition to that, we host many Japanese students and under different kind of program with the support of government, Japanese government, or with the support of Japanese universities or institutions. And these students actually act as kind of ambassadors to develop their collaborations and research with our students. I think we can support this kind of programs in the future. And I think NSF can take the leadership to develop that kind of S&T activities. I think still we didn't explore. I think even though it is beyond our scope, I think to serve our motherland, we can get the support of high-tech Japanese companies and Japanese universities to develop vocational kind of training in Sri Lanka. I think that was kind of missing, but I think with the support of all staff members, we can do that kind of things. I think I was given only 3 minutes, so finally I would like to say, from my side, I would like to happy and to do any kind of activities to achieve the target of NSF and provide any kind of support to this endeavor. I think I know almost, as a personal note, I know almost all Japanese expatriates joining with us today. I don't want to tell names, I know almost all, but I am pretty sure we don't have big numbers. They are very capable of delivering very specific target. I am 100% sure about that, and I am pretty sure that we can get their support and develop this NSF endeavor, NSF program to get the maximum benefit and develop our relationship. Thank you, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for your encouraging words, and it is very encouraging. I mean, you express your willingness to cooperate and support. I think with your experience with Japan, we can leverage our effort and the digital platform towards the objectives. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
The next item is addressed by Dr. Sunil Navaratna, as highlighted by Chairman. Dr. Navaratna is the current Director General of the National Institute of Education. He is also a member of the NSF Board of Management. Over to you, sir.
Hi, thank you. Good evening and good evening all of you.
Good evening.
Thank you, Shantashri and Professor Ranjit Ratna, Chairman NSF, should give a special thanks because who is initiated this NSF digital platform to link with us. So I think we have to appreciate him. And also my many friends are there. Dr. Nandana Gunawardana, then Gamini Marabe, Mr. and also Professor Ennis Kure and Professor Monty Kasim, Professor Anand Kumar, as well as Professor Anand Javadana, who is also a member of our board. And actually, I would like to talk in different format of perspective. Sri Lanka needs a huge help from all of us because when we compare Japan and Sri Lanka, in 1950, I always highlight this. In 1950, our per capita income was almost equal to Japan. In 1950, Japanese per capita income was $90, where our per capita income was 89, $1 ahead, Japan, and behind Japan, $1. And Malaysia was 30, around $30. And at that time, there was no Singapore. Then today, in 2020, when we compare Japan and Sri Lanka, our per capita income is lagging behind around 4,000, while Japan is around 48,000. See the difference. And Malaysia from 30 to 12,000, and there was no Singapore at that time. In 1965, Singapore was formed under the leadership of Lee Kuan Yew. Now Singapore has achieved 64,000 per capita income. Now friends, we have to question why Sri Lanka is lagging behind like this. So we have to get together and do something to make our Sri Lanka also a developed nation. So now, what is the definition of developed nation? World Bank definition of World Bank developed nation is measured with per capita income is 12,000. So we have to achieve 12,000 per capita, as Professor Ranjit said. Then it took 70 years to come to 4,000. Achieve 4,000, it took 70 years. Then if you want to achieve $8,000 more, like in the same rate, it will take 140 more thousand, 40 more years. So now we have to think very seriously, right? So are we going to do this? No. My question is, we have to achieve this target within next 15 years. Yes, we can, right? So if you want to achieve this 12,000 by 2035, we have to maintain 10% annual growth rate, 10%. It's not easy, but not difficult. Because I have statistics, just after the war, in 2010, 11 and 12, we have maintained our growth rate 8.1, 8.2 and 9.2. So without any plan, we achieved 9.2 just after the war. So let's take Corona also a war, right? Take Corona also a war, like Japan came out of the war. So let's help Sri Lanka to achieve 12,000 US dollars by 2035 by helping all to achieve this 10% growth rate. For that, technology has a bigger role to play, and investment needed, and also human capital. we have to produce more and more human capital, not human liabilities. Universities should produce more and more employable graduates, not unemployable graduates. And we should give as much as possible market opportunities from Japan. Good. Japanese people buying power is very high. And let's get together and try to uh, find investment, try to get more technology and export finished products to Japan and world market. And I think if we get together with the support of NSF and this platform, I'm sure we can achieve it. Since I have very limited time, three minutes, uh, I will summarize my thing. So if we get together and we can make Sri Lanka developed nation within the next 15 years. But for that, we have to have a new tagline. That is for education for national development, private sector for national development, public sector for national development, people sector for national development, and political sector for national development. All four should focus on one end, that is developing, make the Sri Lanka a developed nation by 2035. And NSF also should focus on that, and NSF for national development, and this platform, right, digital platform for national development. Let's try to get together and work towards that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for your encouraging words. And I think it indicated the way forward on how I could harness the digital platform towards the national development. Thank you very much. And the next item is addressed by Mr. Gamini Marambe. He is the president of Japan Sri Lanka Technical and Cultural Association. Mr. Gamini, sir, over to you. Sir, I think you need to unmute your mic.
Yes, thank you, Shanta. Good evening and eminent panel of presenters and ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I wish to thank Professor Senaratna, Chairman, National Science Foundation, for inviting me to make a presentation at this webinar representing JASTECA. JASTECA is Japan Sri Lanka Technical and Cultural Association, is an alumni of Association for Overseas Technical Cooperation and Sustainable Partnership to Japan, which is called AOTS. JASTECA being one of the 73 societies in 44 countries in AOTS network in Asia, Africa, Eastern Europe, Latin America. JASTECA is considered one of the best managed in terms of activities and governance. Since 1984, we have trained over 3,000 personnel in Japan through AOTS technical and management programs. And today, most of top companies in Sri Lanka are managed by our members. We are the foremost organization in Sri Lanka that has been a catalyst in transferring Japanese technology and management system to Sri Lanka from Japan. The main event in JASTECA's calendar is the JASTECA Awards, where we recognize companies of public and private sector who has been successful in implementing Japanese management systems such as 5S, Kaizen, Type, TPM, TQM, etc. And up to date, about 800 companies have taken part in this competition. Coming back to today's topic for discussion, I wish to commend the policies of the present government led by His Excellency Gotabaya Rajapaksa for restricting imports and encouragement given to the local industries, and also the plans for development of infrastructure facilities. In this context, JASTECA can offer to act as a facilitator in attracting foreign direct investments from Japan. For that, we need the blessings of His Excellency the Ambassador of Japan, Sri Lanka, JETRO, JICA, trade chambers in Japan, and especially the Sri Lankan expatriates in Japan. We may need to promote Sri Lanka aggressively among Japanese entrepreneurs by providing them with vital information which prospective investors will look into. availability of skilled workforce with high literacy rate, practicing of Japanese management systems in Sri Lanka, clean environment compared to our neighboring countries, advanced communication facilities available, sufficient sea and port facilities, and mainly the political stability. So taking the above into consideration and present context, the ideal opportunity for Sri Lankan expatriates in Japan to promote Sri Lanka as a viable destination of investment by using their good offices. Since I am given 3 minutes, that is my allocation of time. So thank you very much for inviting me for this.
Thank you very much, Mr. Marame. Very useful and insightful presentation. There'll be about 1 hour after this our
Yes,
and we could take part in the discussion. Many thanks.
Right, right.
Useful.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your sir, for your timely speech. And of course, I think a digital platform initially will focus on education and higher education R&D cooperation, but in the once we going onwards, I mean, we'll focus to even industry. Therefore, I think linking together with the NSF and the Justica will create the synergy, and we hope we can deliver more. Thank you very much for your encouraging words.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next item is we have Professor Ennis from Graduate School of International Relations, International University of Japan. Professor Kure is also the principal liaison point in Japan for this endeavor. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Let me start by thanking Professor Ranjit Senaratne, Chairman of National Science Foundation, for trusting us and getting in touch with our association members. And from our association, we have Professor Monty Kasim, Professor Ananda Kumara, Professor Rajasekara, Professor Jayasena. I think they all will join me in thanking our chairman for organizing this wonderful event. I see a lot of potential of this kind of, resource pooling together, because, when we talk about whole development story, as Dr. Navaratna mentioned, it's a kind of, I see it as a kind of underdevelopment as a coordination failure, because, according to one of the leading economists, Danny Rodriguez, he said underdevelopment is nothing but failure of coordinating resources. And as chairman correctly pointed out, there are 3 million Sri Lankan expatriates working for other countries, and they are very eager to serve our motherland, including me. And I know many of us who are here in Japan, they are already have started working with Sri Lankan universities. Sri Lankan, they are some of I know that they are very much linked with the Sri Lankan policy circles. And I know Professor Monty Kasim, I was also with him. We had a kind of expert group in Japan, closely working with Sri Lankan Colombo, policymakers. I'm sure that we all will be able to help if something coming up from Sri Lankan side, because as Dr. Nand also mentioned, that there are a lot of people who are willing to work. It is not for money, but even though we are physically overseas, but mentally we are with our Sri Lankan friends. So whenever country needs our help, we are there with you all. And with that, I think once again I would like to thank NSF, because without science and technology, no country has developed in the past. Particularly, we have seen a lot of changes since 2007. This all development, nanotechnology, all kind of technology are drastically improving. And I'm sure that in Sri Lanka also things are quite, coming up in a good shape. even though there are some kind of things, that bit I'm concerned, but even though we have some area that, have to, pay attention. But I think Sri Lanka also have a lot of potential, and then I think this National Science Foundation can do a better kind of job in coordinating resources, overseas resources, harnessing and combining with our local resources. I think if we put enough effort, enough energy, I think we all can help our country to bring to the next stage. So we are happy to contribute any form. Thank you so much. And let's discuss details when we talk, after all this presentation, during the discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your inspiring speech and enlightening the your generous, support which can be given towards Sri Lanka and potential of the expatriates towards the digital platform and the national development. Next, I would like to cordially invite Professor Monty Kasim. Professor Monty Kasim is the president of Risumikan Asia Pacific University, and also he is the vice chancellor of the Risumikan Trust. Over to you, sir. Sir, excuse me, could you please unmute your mic?
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
First of all, thank you very much, everyone, for this wonderful initiative Professor Sri has embarked upon. I think COVID has shown us that digital platforms are one way in which we can keep in touch no matter where we are. So 3 million plus 22 million, we can assume that we have 25 million people working towards achieving the goals that Sunil and Ranjit have set us. From my side, there are a few things that I would like to share with you. First is, what is it that we can learn from Japan which might be directly relevant to NSF? Japan has been conducting what is called science foresight since 1971. That's nearly 50 years. And from about 1983, under the Ministry of Education, they set up a particular center funded by government to conduct a Delphi survey every 4 to 5 years to see where is it that science and technology is going. Now, this is not a simple exponential portrayal of trends. It is an actual conducting of inquiries from about 3,000 experts in the field, in different fields of human and natural sciences. This modality, I think Srimali was interested in when we were when she was at NSF, and I think Dr. Senratna, this could be carried on, and I'll be happy to help you in every way possible, because I'm close to the Japanese policymakers who are involved in this. That's the first thing. The second aspect is in Japan, we have, thanks to Ambassador Karanna Ogoda, we have several strong associations. We have Dr. Kure's association, the Sri Lanka Academic Society. We have the Sri Lanka Professionals Association in Japan, SLPAJ. We have the Sri Lanka Students Association, which is also very active. And then we have two business councils which continually support us. And just last year, I set up a part Japanese, part Sri Lankan endeavor called the Sri Lanka-Japan Collaborating Platform. So any assistance that these associations with whom I have some link with can be brought to bear towards helping your platform become a roaring success from Japan, we will be happy to help. The SLPAJ right now is conducting a series of continuing professional development workshops. I will share with you the content of those workshops with the permission of the executives of the association. And I think that might be useful when Sri Lankan professionals engage with professionals working in Japan. Now, the reason I say this is because Japanese academics work in universities, but a lot of the Sri Lankan professionals also work in companies which have access to technology and can be leveraged on. So I think these two associations, the academics and the professionals, together with perhaps the Students Association being a third leg for this thing, can become a very strong supportive group. We have a very good ambassador, acting ambassador, who will eventually become, I guess, the counselor when the new ambassador comes, has been very supportive, and the embassy staff have gone out of their way to make all these associations work well. So I think we are getting our act together on this side, and we can help you a great deal. Now, one of the other things that I would like you to see is this tremendous potential that Japanese small and medium-sized companies have. They are the repositories of Japan's high technology. Japan's high technology is not a monolith just run by the big companies. All the big companies either procure or have subcontracting contracts or have procurement contracts with a whole range of small and medium-sized companies, some of whom have been around for more than 100 years. Now, under the Sri Lanka-Japan Collaborative Platform, we have 8 projects. And just around one of these projects, we have about 25 high technology companies that have gathered around. Now, we were to have an investment seminar in May 2020, when we hope that the president will be able to visit Japan. But unfortunately, SARS-CoV-2 has put a hold on that. But I hope we can get to it sometime next year. So if it is possible, the plans that we had for this investment seminar also I would like to share with you, give you some indication of what the Japanese investors involved are. And in order to make this really happen, not just think of foreign direct investment and foreign portfolio investment, but think of this new modality we are experimenting with to harness these technological know-how that Japan has, called foreign technology investment. And we'll be also happy to share with you the kind of framework within which this foreign technology investment works. On the Sri Lankan side, we will need a policy, and you will be the first country in the world to have foreign technology investment as a part of national development strategy to do that. So these are all exciting things that we can share with you. So please let us keep this digital platform as the place that will bring us all together, because united, we are strong. Divided, we are weak. So my call for all of us is, let us put our shoulders to the wheel and achieve that 2035 goal much faster. I am reminded of the Japanese income doubling plan in the 1950s. They planned to have a 10-year plan to double their income. They achieved it in 3 years. I'm sure we can do the same. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. I think Professor Senaratna, better if you could say a few words.
Yes, I think now even now Professor Monty and also Mr. Marambe and of course my colleague Sunil Navaratna all made very, very valuable observations and have been very insightful and thought-provoking. And I have made a note about what my friend Monty said, and with this, how we could make use of these opportunities available through various platforms, professionals and students, and also the Sri Lanka Japan collaboration platform. Already several projects, including prospects for investment in Sri Lanka. So we have made a note of them. I would really follow up on the discussion, even with email, so that we could further develop and refine our ideas and really transfer them into high impact projects. Many thanks. Also, Professor Mr. Marbe, also you made very useful things. Actually, though we are living in Sri Lanka, all news to us, right? We were very excited. I will get back to you after the event. Thanks.
Thank you very much, sir. Professor Monty Kasim, thanks a lot for, in fact, I want to highlight you at the beginning of your speech, you highlighted the technology foresight and Delphi survey in S&T planning, road mapping. Of course, I'm happy to highlight that National Science Foundation is couple of our staff members, myself, also have acquired training from the foresight, and I think we can go a long way. Thank you very much for your encouraging and inspiring speech.
Dots getting connected.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. The next item is we, of course, we fortunate to have one expatriate to excel in the Japan. I think he is about to receive a very prestigious award from the Japan, I think. So why not addressed by Professor Ananda Kumara. He is from the Faculty of Foreign Studies, Mijo University. He is also the founder dean of the same faculty. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much for your invitation to this very prestigious seminar. And I would like to thank, first of all, Dr. Ranjit Senaratna, as well as our old friend, Dr. Nanda Gunawardana, and even Sunil Navaratna. So you can see so many faces actually quite familiar. And in fact, we have been working together in Japan, Professor Monty Kasim, then Professor Kure Maise, and Professor J, and like that. So we academics have got together, and several times we handed over some very important documents to our leaders of the country when they had visited Japan. But unfortunately, we cannot see anything have been implemented so far. So that is a kind of mismatching with the way we have tried to contribute, I think. So when you think about those things, I think this initiative is very much different from what we have experienced so far. So actually, I have seen that in Japan, there are so many foreign Sri Lankans in Japan who have very strong links with the Japanese society. That means not only with the business enterprises, but with the ordinary society and the academics, and also with the government organizations. So they are doing very good job in Japan. And if there is any kind of mechanism for us means for Sri Lanka to get their links to cater to some demands of the country, I am sure we can do somewhat better than what we have done so far. Actually, when I was at the Tokyo Tech several years ago, Tokyo Institute of Technology as a professor, we tried to introduce some programs to dispatch students to developing countries. And I started the project with Dr. Nanda at that time. And later on, we expanded the projects to other countries as well, like India, Indonesia, Philippines, and all that. But you know, with all these among all these countries, Sri Lanka has been selected as the best and most favorite destination for our students to go. Actually, now we have been talking about tourism. That is in addition to the ordinary tourism, actually there is a very huge demand among the academics and the young academics, that means the students of the universities. I am also involved with one academic association here, and all the member universities in that association want to dispatch the students to abroad. it's a very huge market. Perhaps this NFS digital platform also may be some kind of pivotal in promoting this kind of academic tourism to the country. Actually, with the SLACJ, Sri Lanka Academics Association in Japan, I think we have a very good network throughout the country, and all of the members are very much in a very high, ambition to contribute to the country. But unfortunately, nobody knows how to contribute. So we want to believe that this new initiative will be able to fill that gap. So there are so many now in the Aichi area. There are many small and medium scale industries who are trying to find locations to make investments abroad. But China may not be the only alternative, and actually we want to develop some good relationship with Sri Lanka as well as these SMIs, so that some of the companies can be brought to the country. So not only for manufacturing and services, but for the academic sector as well. I think we can do a lot of collaborative work, provided that we have the same aim. As Dr. Navaratna mentioned, I think achieving $12,000 per capita is not a very big target actually. If we really gear our capabilities to the development path. We may join, actually, as Mr. Siri explained, I don't know the exact reason why I got got an award from the JICA, but that is one of the very rare occasions for a foreigner to get within Japan. So perhaps I may also able to channel that one to this network also. Sorry, my telephone, another telephone is very noisy over there. Sorry for that, and I will join you later for the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Now we almost come to the end of as per the agenda item. So before I move on to the next item, I would like to invite Professor Anand Javadana, board member of the National Science Foundation, to say a few words. Over to you, sir. Professor Anand.
Thank you very much, Mr. Santa Siri, and Chairman Professor Ranjit Senaratna, Dr. Sunil Navaratna, Professor Monty Kasim, and all the scientific colleagues around the world. Thank you for the opportunity to share a few words, and I'm really appreciative of the initiative of the National Science Foundation to have this digital platform to connect the expatriates from different countries. And obviously, Japan is one of the countries that we have been successfully having some collaborations, and certainly it will help us to improve and harness further opportunities. I just would like to comment on some of the things that we have discussed already. And Dr. Nanda Gunawardana suggested to start a new Sakura program. And Mrs. Anthony, if you can remember, we have had already discussions with Dr. Ranjit Amarasinghe of University of Moratuwa, and Ms. Dilutsi Ekanayaka is also in the audience, and Professor Monty Kasim, your student Ranjit Amarasinghe. So he was very keen actually to start a new Sakura program with Japan. I think we went a little far, and Mr. Ansari, probably you can continue some of these efforts to have a separate Sakura program. And having listened to the discussions and also the ideas of Dr. Sunil Navaratna, now I think what perhaps we need to concentrate to harness these expatriates, professionals' expertise in Sri Lanka. I think we are all, like Professor Ranjit Senaratna always talks about, that we are like, we have pockets of expertise and dots everywhere, but not really connected. And so when we don't have this connection, the value chain is disconnected. And although we talked about national development, and we need to make sure that all these high energy that we talked about, all the expertise need to be really translated towards that goal of national development. So in the process, we have many links that we need to really connect. And I think if we can put our brains together to see how these connections are made in Sri Lanka, starting from the policy priorities towards the end product of national development, and see where the links are broken and how do you connect these links so that we have, like Japan, a very conducive national innovation ecosystem towards the development, national development. So those are my comments. I think we together at the NSF board and with all the links that we have established and links to be established through the platforms and other initiatives, I think we will be able to connect these dots and achieve our target perhaps without too long. Dr. Surijat Navaratna's development targets of $12,000 US. Yeah, thank you. So those are just my comments, and we'll see how discussion goes to contribute more. Thank you, Mr. Chanshi.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Now also our Professor Ananda and Professor Kure,
Yes.
there may be senior dons and maybe from industry R&D institution joining the webinar from Japan.
Yes.
We are not very familiar with them. Could you help to identify them and invite them to say a few words? Because
Yes.
that would be useful because that could reinforce and enrich the discussion.
Yes, sir. Yes. So first of all, we will give.
Okay.
Yeah.
Should I?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes,
okay. Okay. Right. Okay. I think let me begin with the comment that Professor Ananda Jayawardena mentioned. He pointed out a very important point relating to the network or the broken links. In fact, this is what at the very beginning I mentioned, that it's something relating to the coordination failure. We have resources scattered everywhere. That's what I think Professor Ananda mentioned. I think this National Science Foundation has initiated this, bringing all these resources together. I think we can address this coordination failure. When I say coordination failure, we have to think of resources, output and input, bringing all these resources, together so that we can bring our country to the next stage, as I mentioned earlier. I'm living in an area called, Niigata. This area, we are producing best rice in Japan and best sake in Japan. And this prefecture has 98 sake factories. And when I was, I visited many of these sake factories, and then a lot of rice are being used for sake production. And in Sri Lanka, about 0.5% of rice is being used for local wine production. And it is unfortunate that I don't know why Sri Lankan policymakers are not allowing rice farmers to sell their rice for, making brewery or the beer, because we are spending huge amount of foreign exchange, spending in order to get all these, the inputs from outside. Even though we have a lot of opportunities that Sri Lanka can use local rice for, wine production, wine or the beer production. So we can get good lessons from Japan to see how rice can be used for this local beer production or liquor production. It is unfortunate that we are using only 0.5% of local rice for, beer production. And I'm happy that, I can link Sri Lankan manufacturers or researchers to this very interesting industry of sake. That's really potential area. I think we Sri Lankans should explore that one. That is on sake production relating to the manufacturing, as Professor Ranjit mentioned. And the second point, rice, and we are producing the best rice in this prefecture. And our university is located, surrounded by rice field, this beautiful rice field. And in fact, I'm dreaming one day that I want to make several rice field in Sri Lanka. I have started, organic rice farming in Sri Lanka. And if we can use this technology, particularly the agro industry related technology from this area, because there are a lot of similarities that, when we compared the paddy farming in Sri Lanka and, this area, I'm sure that there are so many things that we can, learn, Sri Lankan can learn from farmers, the technology around this area. So these are the two area, I think, from my, this Niigata prefecture, we can contribute to Sri Lanka. These are the two things I think we can contribute. And from my side, as Professor Monty Kasim and also Professor Anand Kumar mentioned, our academic association, we started in 2011 when Ambassador Karanagwada was here. And our academic association have many expertise, like, of course, Professor J is expert on IT. He had many patents. He's IT giant in our university. So there are a lot of potential resources. He's not talking. Perhaps we should get him to speak out. And we can contribute to that area. And for me personally, I have been closely working with some Sri Lankan universities and, some policy circles. My expertise are relating to policy analysis and forecasting using some econometrics techniques. So I'm very happy to contribute if some of our Sri Lankan institution are interested. I think finally as a suggestion to National Science Foundation, I think this is the right time that Science Foundation, if possible, should initiate something like establishing research institution affiliating to all and every ministries of Sri Lanka. Right now, there are about maybe 20 plus ministries. I think we must have research unit for every ministry so that you can bring all this expatriate link to all the ministries so that it is properly channeled to Sri Lankan policymaking circle. I think that can be a good channel where you can mobilize expatriate resources to Sri Lankan development. This is my suggestion. And as I said earlier, I can contribute from that area also, the agricultural technology and mainly the rice and the paddy, rice and the sake industries. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Kure. You mentioned about Professor J and maybe several other senior scientists, academics, and maybe from industry present. Could you help them to express themselves, identify and invite them to say a few words?
I think Professor J, he is with us now. Could you speak out, J Sensei?
Yeah, let me see. Yeah, I can. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah,
can.
Okay, yeah. Thank you so much, Kure Sensei, Professor Kure, for pushing all these things, and in Japan, of course, along with Professor Kasim, Professor Kumara, etc. And I think certainly there are so many things that our two countries can cooperate to do. But one thing I personally feel is missing in our people is our people are not really looking for something. The Japan didn't develop by just for nothing. Japanese people were very inquisitive. They go and nobody told them to go, but they went themselves. And they went to other countries, and they looked around what is there, and then they found things to develop this country. And I sometimes tell this story in my class. The Mr. Morita, when he was trying to after the war and trying to do something to develop this country, he was looking, he was reading, and then he found something in a business magazine about a transistor developed in the United States. And he immediately asked the co-founder to go and get it. So they found it because he was looking for it. And I find our people in general, they are not looking in Sri Lanka. So I think this should be an item perhaps to promote, and by this Science Foundation, a culture for our people to look outside, because I gave a presentation in the embassy in Tokyo, and during that time I searched about the so-called marketing research. Do our people look for things to market outside? And then I found out Sri Lanka is one of the countries which does the kind of at the bottom of doing this marketing research. Without the marketing research, we don't know, how to do things. This country, Japan, developed because of the export economy, and I sometimes give talk about this Japan model. I call Japan developed, the high growth, even like achieving 15%, annual growth because of exporting, and so we have to, I think, develop this culture of exporting things and the growing commercial crops, and we are trying to develop, things like, tal, the, what is that, kitul, etc. These are commercial crops, and we never have a culture to develop them commercially, you know, and all these things. I had one student from Thailand, and she was trying to do some research with me, and I told her, please find, what kind of these costs the jackfruit items are commercially sold in Thailand. 50 times, 50 different types. She took out of internet and showed to me 50 different things out of cost. What do we do with cost? And so these kind of things, I think maybe the Science Foundation, can take the initiative to promote among our people. Now the internet is there, and people can just search them and what other people need, and then do. So this is my short one. I want to, I'd be very happy to cooperate with anybody, and I talk often with Professor Kure. In fact, he's sitting just maybe 2 minute drive from where I'm sitting right now, and so I'm very willing to cooperate with anybody on this thing, and Professor Kure, Professor Kasim, and Professor Kumar, and we talk often, and hopefully we can do something to turn this, make that goal of becoming a developed country in 2035 or maybe before even. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody. And
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof.
Thank you so much.
Is Professor Piyata Suratnaka here? There?
Today he's not there, but I'm sure that he will be willing to help us anytime. He's not joining us today, but we can get him.
Professor Ananda, can I have a word with you?
Anand, okay, go ahead.
Hi, Ananda. Nice talking to you. Now, your proposal is excellent, but there's a small improvement has to be done, especially in Sri Lanka. There's a rice shortage now. Therefore, government is very reluctant to give opportunities to use rice for other purposes. For example, even poultry feed also not allowed. So therefore, your proposal is very practical. If we can bring Japanese rice to Sri Lanka to improve the productivity, because our productivity is very low, and your youth are not involved in the agriculture, right? So if you can introduce some kind of rice from Niigata to Sri Lanka, actually the productivity is very high, then definitely we can start one way. On the other way, if we can introduce the Japanese tools like this combiners and all these things to Sri Lanka, even used one, okay, then people starting use those machines. Now we have a huge labor shortage, and in that way we can make agriculture, especially paddy farming, a profitable one, thanks to these tools and machines, and we can invite youth to do these things. Then once we do this, so definitely rice cultivation can be diverted towards beer or sake or whatever the manufacturing. That's a good idea. But initially, we have to make sure that we don't have a rice shortage, especially in December, January. period, our rice price goes up because Yalakan, we get only very small harvest, right? At the end of the Yalakan till March, we get Mahakan harvested, we don't have enough rice. Therefore, using rice for other purposes, maybe government will not that happy to divert rice. So if you can do the other way, I don't know how far Professor Ranjit might say how far we can use Japanese rice in Sri Lanka and get a high productivity, and also definitely we can start introducing Japanese machines, not the brand new one, then very expensive. The used one to Sri Lanka to motivate youth in agriculture.
Can I make comment on that?
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Navaratna, for raising that, your sharing your interest with us. I think, recently I met a group of farmers from this area, and they are quite willing to help Sri Lanka if there is a kind of request from Sri Lankan government side. So I can communicate with the local farmers and the town office people here and get their kind of support if there's a kind of need. And also the other point I want to emphasize that the use of rice for liquor production, I don't think that Sri Lanka have rice shortage. It is, I don't agree with that idea. I think we have to think of the political economy of rice. I have written many articles on that. I think some policymakers in Sri Lanka are not implementing correct policies relating to the rice. We don't have any rice shortage. I mean, we have enough rice up to March, but these politicians are making a lot of politics out of rice. That is the problem in Sri Lanka. I think you all agree with me. We don't have to talk about that policy right now because it's beyond our kind of things. Assuming that Sri Lankan government implement correct policy. What is that?
If you can tell us, how can we get it involved with this? What is this rice shortage to avoid that?
Okay, now just a quick
Yeah.
hint. Just now we could discuss on rice, but I would like to also have some discussion, some space to have discussion on industry related matters, especially electronics. Now after this rice issue. Okay, thanks. Please. Yeah, it's correct.
Oh, okay. I think for electronic stuff, I think the better person may be Professor Monty Kasim.
Yeah. I think may I set the stage for it. Now we talk about taking our country from 4,000 to 12,000. So
Right.
obviously, naturally, we have to come out with high-tech exports.
Yes.
And even we sent several container loads of our agriculture produce. We cannot meet that. We have to bring in industry. Now at present, we see that because of this, you see this some small Cold War going on, and some countries are pulling out and they are looking for alternate countries to establish their industry. Now, electronics is an industry. If we can go ahead, I think Professor Anand also might, Ananda Javadana also might share his thoughts. Now, if we can start fabricating this circuit, these ICs, and for standard software, for standard product. And if we can, because there is a lot of interest, I talk to Americans and the Canadians, Australian scientists of Sri Lankan origin. They are happy to contribute their might towards this. There's one Dr. Viraj Jaivir also, I think he's now in Japan. I also had some discussion with him. Could we really see now, because now his colleague Monty also mentioned about this collaboration and also this high impact, high priority projects and this collaborative program. If we can think of some industries that could be supported, because that will create employment. Even now in our Sri Lankan universities, mainly our engineers going to the services sector, mainly telecommunication and software. They are not getting into electronics because there is no electronic industry, there is no employment here. But if we can also help develop the electronic industry in Sri Lanka by putting this expertise together, available among Sri Lankans, I think that will give a big boost to our economy. Could I have a little discussion, I think, on this, because Monty there and so many high-profile economists there, and I think Viraj also there, Viraj Javir. Could I have a little discussion? I think that would be useful, because we had some discussion with our minister, Dr. Sita Arambepal, on that, and we are trying to take it to the next step. If we can have some light in this regard, we would appreciate.
Okay. I think, I'm not even though I'm an economist, but I'm not directly dealing with this industrial sector. But I think I can link you to some of, Sri Lankan who are working in IT sector. In fact, we have IT park here. I think Mr. Kaushal is, president of that, the company that is called Adamai. And we have some professional, who are working in the industry. Maybe I may be able to link our, resources with those, Sri Lankan, friends, if there's a, request from your side. And also perhaps, Professor J also might be able to help us on that. And of course, Monty Kasim also can help us on that. Because
Monty, could we hear from you? Professor Monty?
Yeah, sorry, I was mute. Thanks. I think we have to keep the science and technology is changing so rapidly that we can't go into areas where others have already gone into. I think we must focus our efforts on areas which are important, which will solve problems of development, underdevelopment, and poverty, and so on and so forth in Sri Lanka, but are at the front line of inputs from science and technology. Now, we can't do that completely by ourselves, largely for two reasons. One is that the instrumentation that is required for these advanced technologies is expensive, and the investments are very big in most cases. But there are a few areas where we have the ability to enter. One of them, I think, is the area of mini satellites and microsatellites and nanosatellites. Now, these are very essential for monitoring things like climate change, which are devastating some of our agricultural fields in the hill countries, causing disasters and so on. So if we focus our attention on this, then you realize that we are not so far behind many places, and we can use Japan's good officers, as the Arthur Clarke Center did, to launch that satellite and things like that. So that's the kind of area where satellite will immediately start collecting large volumes of data. And when you collect large volumes of data, you need data scientists to analyze them. Mathematics doesn't require much equipment, but it requires good brains, and we have lots of them in Sri Lanka, I think, which we can use. So like that, we've got to create a cascade, and I hope that those 8 projects that SLJCP is launching will be able to generate that cascade. Once you generate the cascade, private industry can participate, universities can participate, and both countries can benefit from it. So actually, I think what would be good is, this is not the forum for me to go into that in detail. So with your permission, Ranjit, if you can arrange at some point for a Zoom meeting, I can explain in detail what these things will entail, and then we can see how to take it forward. Now, one of the things that I think we need absolutely urgently is something that the NSF was actually engaged in when they brought Professor Lee Yuan Che to Sri Lanka several years ago. Now, he is the person who set up Academia Sinica in Taiwan.
What's his name?
Professor Lee Yuan Che, he's a Nobel laureate in chemistry.
Right.
I arranged for him to come to Sri Lanka, and Sirimali, I think, was NSF chairman when he visited. You can ask her for details.
Right.
He said one of the best lessons for Sri Lanka is a little similar to Taiwan, which is also an island with similar population characteristics. He said when he left Taiwan, he was a little brain. He went to the States and he became a big brain. But when you're a big brain, you want to have a place in your home country where you can go to, even temporarily, and then inspire and nurture lots of young people. So he created Academia Sinica. And Academia Sinica was a place by which all Taiwan expatriate scientists come to nurture young people. And today that is one of the dynamos of science and technology drive in Taiwan, Academia Sinica. We could set up Academia Silonica. And in order to show the possibilities of this kind of work at the front line, when our Honorable President was Secretary of Defense and he came to Japan some years ago, Ambassador Karanago called me and said, he's going to Okinawa. Can you tell me something that he can do after he's seen the monorail? And I said, well, why don't you take him to the Okinawa Institute of Science and Technology? Now that is a university that was set up to capture the world's leading brains and bring them to Japan to become future Nobel laureates. That is the aim of that particular university. The next day, Vasanta Karanagoda calls me and says, Monty, thank you ever so much. He was so grateful that I couldn't understand why he was so grateful. I asked, why are you thanking me so much? I only introduced you to go to this place because I'm on their board. And he said, no, from the time he left the university until he got on the plane, he was only talking about this university and saying, this is the kind of place we must create in Sri Lanka. So the president is aware of the need for the equivalent of Academia Sinica. Whatever we call it, it doesn't matter. We can work on the details. But we need a place by which expatriate Sri Lankans can come even for a short time, inspire our younger colleagues and go on. Their laboratories can be the partnership laboratories because equipment is expensive. We can just send our young people to those laboratories, work for 6 months. We already sent them when Susil Premajayanta was minister to CERN. We sent them to various places like that. So I think it is very important that we deal with the front line of the world. We don't deal with the hand-me-downs of the scientific community. It is only then that we can maintain our advantage. Now, let me tell you another area where climate change is affecting us. We know very little about atmospheric chemistry. These mini satellites we launch can monitor atmospheric chemistry. Atmospheric chemistry, we don't know how long molecules remain in the air. We don't know the fluid dynamics of molecules in the atmosphere. We know it about the water. We don't know it about the atmosphere. Paul Crutzen, a Nobel laureate, said this is an area where no one is ahead right now. These are the areas that we should map and go into. And I think that is why this science foresight engagement that Mr. Shantasri said we have already started engaging with can be very good because we can leverage on Japan to provide those things that cannot be afforded by us right now. But once we create a critical mass of people, I think the sky is the limit. So my suggestion is that this digital platform can be an inventory for talent, but it must be more than that. And if we can work together to get some star-studded projects going, and if the Sri Lankan government requests, I'm sure that the Japanese government will comply. Now, I sense that there is a slight Cold War between Sri Lanka and Japan right now, but those things can be corrected. There was a Cold War when I started working at the Prime Minister's office too, but the Cold War will be thawed in various ways, and nothing will thaw it faster than something that is exemplary, something that will benefit both countries, and something that, we will be proud of having had.
Thank you very much. This Academia Silonica, I think, is a take-home message very clear and loud message, Monty, and also other ideas to express we have taken note of, and we would get back to you. And we have only a few minutes, I think now. What's the time in Japan now? It's
7:25.
Huh?
7:25.
7:25.
Yes.
It's not too bad. Maybe it's time for sake, right?
Hello. Hello.
Can I?
Professor Senaratne, excuse me.
Yes.
Our Dr. Nanda Gunawardana identify one expat in the on board. I think shall we?
Yes, please, and also Asif.
Yes, Dr. Nanda Gunawardana, you can identify and invite the expatriate.
Actually, Professor Kirti Gurge is with us, so I think he has helped a lot to Sri Lanka, and he has a lot of collaborations with Sri Lankan scientists. So I want to invite Professor Kirti Gurge to share his thoughts.
Many thanks. In fact, I also noted his name. He's from Animal Health Institute.
I think you have to unmute.
Okay. Okay. Can everyone hear me now?
Yeah, yes, can.
Thank you, Dr. Nanda. I am actually an environmental toxicologist, a person who are looking for troubles in every country, and probably not many people want to collaborate with me because I go there and get samples and find some new chemicals, also their effects. Yeah, in fact, I have been collaborating with Sri Lanka for more than 20 years, even before I joined this institute. So far, I have been working with almost every university and also analyzed more than probably 500 samples from my colleagues from almost every university. And also we have published a lot of papers. It is very good for them. The first person who visited here is now a senior professor, actually. It's very happy for me. And currently I'm working on 3 different research projects with Ocean University, Peradeniya University, and also Wayamba University. Being in a research institute in Japan, it is a little bit difficult to work with outside, cases, stuffs, because we have a lot of problems, issues compared to universities. So we have to always obey these compliances, bringing samples from here, there to here. So if I say something about Sri Lanka, about the pollution, ongoing pollution of Sri Lanka, it is really bad. Probably, actually I have been working with the superbugs and antimicrobial pollution. I worked 3 years in India, Indian samples, and we found that South India is completely infested with superbugs. And in Japan, it's already started to address this problem in Ministry of Agriculture, because we are directly functioning under the Ministry of Agriculture, and they pour a lot of money, nearly 200. It's ni okuen. I don't know how many amount of that per year. So I am actually getting nearly 10 million per year for 5 years now. We are working on swine farms because they use a lot of antibiotics, and we found that also there are a lot of superbugs are spreading. So Japanese Prime Minister a few years ago, Mr. Abe, said that we have to reduce use of antibiotics by certain percentage. And at the same time, he's looking to reduce the superbugs, especially resistant to antibiotics, by 10% or something. So this work, actually, I asked some of my friends in especially Peradeniya University to get me some samples. We collected a lot of samples from 2016 to 18. We analyzed all the samples. Now the manuscripts are under preparation. It's sad to say that in Kandy area, probably almost all surface water are infested. And it is too late, I think. We have to quickly address this issue. Like Japan or any other developed countries, they already started. I think 10 years ago, they already started, and they are now know what kind of bugs are there and what kind of the antibiotics are there to treat them in case of infection started. The WHO already mentioned that the number of people dying with superbug infection is nearly 10 million by 2030. Now it is less than 1 million. So this problem is probably much more dangerous than what we think about COVID-19. COVID-19 people are not dying actually, it's just an infection. So, I have been supporting, this kind of small project in Sri Lanka. Probably I'm not, I cannot probably support for this, your suggestions like trade and exports or tourism or something, but I'm very sure I can help for good environment in Sri Lanka, okay? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Can I have some words?
Yes.
Okay, I am actually Mohammed Rasmi. I am a senior researcher at the International Center for Water Hazard and Risk Management. And I think only few of you knows me. And we have started a platform on water resilience and disaster in Sri Lanka. And we are working on this for last 4 years with several institutions. If you allow me, I can share some of the slide. Can I share some of the slide very quickly within 1 or 2 minutes?
Yeah.
So, okay. Okay. So this is the idea that we are implementing in Sri Lanka. And actually, the ICHAM also very new to you. This is an institute and the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transportation and Tourism. So we are the kind of international center for water hazard and risk management. So we have 3 units: research, capacity building, and networking. And for the capacity building, from Sri Lanka, there are many students who already graduated from master program and also some other training program. We also have PhD students right now. And as you remember, 2017 flood in Sri Lanka, it was kind of historical flood and many people, affected. Then Japan dispatched a team to Sri Lanka to support this disaster, and I was one of them. And this is me actually. And we went and did some survey and provide a report to Sri Lankan government on what to do on disaster situation for mainly flood and landslide. Then we met several people and conveyed the message on behalf of Japan to Sri Lanka. Then after I come back to Japan, we started a collaboration between my institute, ICHAM, and also Sri Lankan government. Under that, we started a platform on water resilience and disaster in Sri Lanka. So mainly this one's, we have a kind of stakeholders: irrigation department, disaster management center, meteorological department, and NDRO and Mahavali authority, mainly the member right now. And we have 4 target actions right now: early warning, mainly for flood and landslide; adaptation planning for global change; economic effect of disasters and contingency planning. Until now, we have reached the first one. The others we are still working on it. And the river basins are targeted: Kalu, Kalani, Malwatu, and Mahavali rivers. And yeah, we had number of meetings until now with the stakeholders. And we have MOU with the irrigation department and NPRO, and we share the data and knowledge with them. And every year we make a kind of meeting, we call plenary meetings. Mainly the irrigation department lead these activities.
How many more minutes do you need, Professor Rasmi?
Few slides, 2 slides more.
Yeah.
Then we develop this early warning system for Kalu River, and we also give the training for Sri Lankan. Mainly we focus on the Sri Lankan, what do you call it, the government employees or engineers.
Actually, this disaster resilience building is a high priority concern in our country, and we would like to really reinforce our capabilities in this field. Professor Rasmi, have you finished or you have some more to?
Also,
Okay, go ahead, please. Professor Rasmi, please continue. Some problem? What is the issue?
I think he lost his internet connection.
Connection maybe.
Okay.
Yes.
I think now we are about to conclude. Any other members there would like to express ideas, new ideas for consideration by us? We could add to our discussion.
Yes. Can I add?
Yes.
Can I add one more point? I think since we have Dr. Navaratna with us, the director of the NIE, he correctly pointed out that Sri Lanka need to develop. That definitely we all agree with him. And in my understanding, we need only 13 years for us to develop. We have schooling from grade 1 up to grade 13. So we have to start from grade 1 if we want to develop our country. And therefore, there is a very big role for education sector. And I just want to share with you, I think Reverend Nanda, I think he is now the Vice Chancellor of, Ruhuna University. And he came to my university, and then he was interested in learning many things about primary not the primary kindergarten education. I think in Sri Lanka we have to go very far journey in terms of kindergarten education. I don't know whether NIE is responsible for policy making of kindergarten education of Sri Lanka, but I think Japan, there are a lot of lessons that we can learn, particularly kindergarten education. I think in Sri Lanka, we have not given due consideration to that sector. I think, Japan can contribute a lot on that. And I'm happy to help in that area if Dr. Navaratna is interested in that area.
Professor, actually, I'm very happy you pointed out because now we have identified preschool as the starting point of the women's mind development, creativity, etc., etc. And now we are going to revamp the whole education system from this what you call Katapadang Sanskriti,
Right.
communication, creativity, innovation, problem solving, critical thinking, all these things, right? So we are now talking about 21st century oriented skills, or 21st century oriented schools, teachers, and the principals and management. And in that sense, this preschool also part of that. And I am planning to have a model preschool in my center, Maharagama.
Okay.
And if you can help us to develop that model center here, already I have a plan also. Then we can show others because most of young ladies who are running this preschool they don't have qualifications, nothing. As a part-time job they do. Excellency President has identified that, and we are very much keen to make them professionals and improve the quality. Not only that, but also from grade 1 to 13, this education system is totally changed. For example, we are going to have 14-week semester system, and not only formative, but summative, but also formative assessment are going to give, and the sports, extracurricular activities, and social service, all are becoming the part of the education system. In short, now the market is asking for smartphone, but still our education system is delivering a land phone. So we have to produce a good full option graduates who are having with all this category. For example, we call it KSAM graduates. K stands for knowledge, theoretical and practical, and skills. All the skill set and the attitudes, values, all these things, and the mindset. How do they pursue the world? So market is asking for KSAM graduates, but still they are producing half K graduates theory only.
Yeah. Shall we, any other comments, ideas?
Excuse me.
Maybe.
Can you hear?
Yes.
Yeah, please. Okay.
Please.
Professor Kure. මට කතා කරන්න පුළුවන්ද?
ඔව් කතා කරන්න.
මේමයි දැන් මම ගොඩක් දුරට මේ හැමෝගෙම සංවාද අහගෙන හිටියා. අපේ ලොකු ගැටලුවක් තියෙන දැන් අපේ ප්‍රොෆෙසර් කුරේ අධ්‍යාපන අංශය ගැන කතා කළා. අපේ ලංකාවේ සංවාදනයේ තියෙන ලොකුම ගැටලුව අධ්‍යාපන ප්‍රශ්නේ. අධ්‍යාපන ප්‍රශ්නය කියලා කියන්නේ විශේෂයෙන්ම භාෂාව, ඉතිහාසය හා සංස්කෘතිය සම්බන්ධ ගැටලු. නිදහස ලැබුවට පස්සේ දිගටම අපි කොහෙද ඉන්නේ, කියන්නේ අපි ජාතියක් හැටියට කොහෙද ඉන්නේ කියන එක අපේ පාසල් අධ්‍යාපනය තුලින් නිවැරදිව ලබා දීලා නැහැ. අපි ජපානයේ ගත්තම අපි දන්නවා මම දැන් අවුරුදු 20කට කිට්ටු වෙන්න ඒ වගේම ප්‍රාථමික බාලාංශයේ ඉඳලා උසස් පෙළ අධ්‍යාපනය අවසන් වෙනකන් මගේ දරුවොත් මෙහි පාසල් වලට යන නිසා මම බොහොම ඕනකමින් බලලා තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේම ඉස්කෝල වලට ගිහිල්ලා අධ්‍යයනය කරලා තියෙනවා. හරිම ඒ කියන්නේ භාෂාව, ඉතිහාසය හා සංස්කෘතිය පදනම් කරගත්ත නිවැරදි, ඒ කියන්නේ ජාතියක් හැටියට තිබිය යුතු ලබාගත යුතු අධ්‍යාපනය යායට ලබා දෙනවා. ඒ පදනම මත තමයි ගොඩක් අය සාකච්ඡා කරපු හැම වෙන රටවලට ගිහිල්ලා ඒගොල්ලෝ වෙන ඉගෙනගෙන ඇවිල්ලා ඒවා අනුගමනය කරලා අනුකරණය කරලා තමන්ගේ රට දියුණු කරන්න උත්සාහ කරන්නේ. හැම දෙයක්ම ලෝකේ හැම තැනකම හැම දෙයක්ම අරන් ඇවිල්ලා තමන් ජීවත් වෙන පරිසරය හොඳ කරන්න, තමන් ජීවත් වෙන වටපිටාව හොඳ කරන්න උත්සාහ කරනවා. අපේ අධ්‍යාපනය වෙලා තියෙන්නේ ලොකු අවුලක්. මොන භාෂාවෙන්ද අධ්‍යාපනය ලබා දෙන්නේ? ළඟට මොන විදියටද පාසල් ක්‍රමයේ තියෙන්නේ? මොන විදියටද මව් භාෂාව එහෙම නැත්නම් රාජ්‍ය භාෂාව කියන එක පදනම් කරගෙන අධ්‍යාපනය කෙරෙන්නේ? මේ ඔක්කොම අවුලක්. අපි මේ මීටින් ගත්තාම මේ වගේ කරන දේවල් මේ හැම දෙයක්ම කරන්නේ එක්ක ඉංග්‍රීසි භාෂාවෙන් එහෙම නැත්නම් සිංහල ඉංග්‍රීසි දෙක කවලම් කරගෙන මේ විදිහට ලොකු අවුලක අපි ඉන්නේ. ඒක මම කියන්නේ අපි හැදෙන්නේ නැහැ කියන්නේ රටක් හැටියට රටේ භාෂාව මොකක්ද වෙන්න ඕනේ කියන එක තීරණය වෙන්නේ. ඊට පස්සේ භාෂාව පදනම් කරන සංස්කෘතිය හා අධ්‍යාපනයේ ලබා දීමේ ක්‍රමයක් ඇති කරනවා. ජාත්‍යන්තර මීටින් මේවා ඉංග්‍රීසි භාෂාවෙන් කරාට කිසි වරදක් නැහැ. යම් කිසි කෙනෙකුට සිංහල භාෂාව රාජ්‍ය භාෂාව තේරුම් ගන්න බැරි නම් එයාට වෙනත් භාෂාවකින් භාෂා පරිවර්තන කළා ඇති කළා කියලා දුන්නා කවන්නේ මේගොල්ලෝ එහෙමයි කරන්නේ. අපි ජාතියක් හැටියට ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ හැටියට ඉන්න ඕන තැන කියන එක අපිට පැහැදිලි නෑ දැනට මේ වෙන්නේ.
අපිට මේ කෙටියෙන් පුළුවන් කරුණාකර දහස් ප්‍රකාශ
ඔව් මගේ කතාව මෙතනින් අවසానයි. මට මේ සම්බන්ධ උදාහරණයක් හැටියට දැන් ප්‍රොෆෙසර් කුරේ විස්තර කරා අපි කොහොමද අපේ බාලාංශයේ ඉඳලා අධ්‍යාපන ක්‍රමයේ වෙනස් කරන්න ඕනේ. මේකට වැඩ පිළිවෙලක් ඇත්තටම ඕනේ කියලා. මේකට ලොකු ආදර්ශයක් අපිට ජපානයෙන් ගන්න පුළුවන්.
අනේ බෞද්ධ මම හිතන්නේ මේ ડોક્ટર නවරත්න ඕකට වෙනම වෙබිනාර් එකක් සංවිධානය කරයි අධ්‍යාපන ක්‍රමයේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් අපි මේකෙදි ගොඩාක් අපි බර දැමුවේ මේ විද්‍යාව සහ තාක්ෂණය තමයි අපි මේ National Science Foundation එකට තියෙන්නේ. මට පේනවා මේ ડોક્ટર මේ විරාජ් ජයවීර ඉන්නවා. විරාජ් ජයවීර ડોક્ટર
ඕකේ මං පොඩක් කතා කරන්න හැදුවේ දැන් අපේ දැන් ඔබතුමා පටන් ගන්නකොට කිව්වේ අපේ දැන් ටාගට් එක per capita income එක වැඩි කර ගන්න ලංකාවේ ඇහෙනවද මං කියන එක? දැන් මම ඇත්තටම මේ භාෂාවේ ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා. මං ඉංග්‍රීසි කතා කරන්න ඕනද සිංහල කතා කරන්න ඕනද? මට දැන් කෝකද වඩා වැදගත් වෙනවද?
සිංහල හොඳයි.
ඕකේ දැන් මට මම ඇත්තටම සයන්ටිස්ට් කෙනෙක් මම මෙහෙ කරන්නේ මෙකට්‍රොනික්ස් ඉංජිනේර් කෙනෙක් විදිහට වැඩ කරනවා මට පුළුවන් මම කරන්නේ ඇත්තටම මේ ඩිසයින් කරන එකයි ඒ කියන්නේ සයන්ටිෆික් ඉන්ස්ට්‍රුමන්ට් ඩිසයින් කරලා මැනුෆැක්චර් කරන එක එතකොට දැන් මට ක්‍රම දෙකකට හවුල් වෙන්න පුළුවන් මේ ලංකාව දියුණු කරන වැඩේට එකක් තමයි දැන් මගේ ප්ලෑන් එකකුත් තියෙනවා මෙහෙම එකක් මොකද ලංකාව ඇතුලේ තියෙන ඔක්කොම labs වල පාවිච්චි කරන scientific laboratory equipment ගොඩක් හැම දෙයක්ම ගේන්නේ පිටරටින්. ඒවෙන් 90%ක්ම ලංකාව ඇතුලේ හදන්න පුළුවන්. ගොඩක්ම පොඩි දේවල් තියෙනවා ඒ ඔක්කොම පිටරටින් ගේන්නේ ඒවෙන් සෑහෙන අපේ රටේ සල්ලි එළියට යනවා. ඒක නැති කරන්න එකක් තමයි අපේ රට ඇතුලේ ඒක හදන්න පටන් ගන්න පුළුවන්. අනිත් එක දැන් කතා කරපු දෙවෙනි කතාරණේ තමයි දැන් ඉන්වෙස්ටර්ස්ලා ගෙන්න ගන්න එක ලංකාවට. දැන් හිතන්න ලොකු chip manufacturers ලා හරි electronics ලොකු products කියන companies ගෙන්න ගන්නවා නම් අපිට ලංකාවට තියෙනවා මෙහෙම target එකක්. වෙන්නේ දැන්ට චයිනා තායිවාන් වගේ ඒවට යන්නේ ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ තියෙන දැන් ඉන්වෙස්ටර් කෙනෙක් එනකොට ඒගොල්ලෝ බලන දේවල් ටිකක් තියෙනවානේ. ඒගොල්ලෝ බලනවා එනකොට රටට ඒගොල්ලන්ට ඕන කරන equipment ලංකාව ඇතුළට ගේනකොට කොහොමද කොච්චර ලේසියෙන් ඇතුළට ගේන්න පුළුවන්ද ඊළඟට හදන භාණ්ඩ එළියට යවනකොට කොච්චර ලේසියෙන් එළියට යවන්න පුළුවන්ද කියලා. දැන් උදාහරණයක් විදිහට කිව්වොත් ජපානයේ ඇතුළේ දැන් මම හදන මැෂින් එකක් අපි ඇමරිකාවට හරි ජර්මනියට හරි කොහෙට හරි යවනවා නම් මේ export tax කියලා කීයක්වත් ජපානයෙන් ගන්න නැහැ. ඒගොල්ලෝ ප්‍රොමෝට් කරන්න අපි ජපානය ඇතුලේ හදලා යමක් පිටට විකුණනොත් ඒගොල්ලෝ අපි අර ගෙවපු 110 tax එක දැන් අපි මේ රට ඇතුලේ බඩු ගන්නකොට ගෙවන 10ත් අපිට ආපහු දෙනවා. ඒ ඉන්ස්ට්‍රුමන්ට් එක හදන්න ගත්ත බඩු ගන්නලා ජපානය ඇතුලේදී අපි වියදම් කරපු tax ඔක්කොමත් අපිට ආපහු දෙනවා. tax කීයක්වත් ගන්න නැහැ. දැන් ලංකාවේ මම ඇත්තටම දන්නේ නැහැ මොකද්ද පොලිසි එක කියලා. ලංකාව ඇතුලේ ප්‍රොඩියුස් කරොත් යමක් ඒක අපි එක්ස්පෝර්ට් කරනකොට ආණ්ඩුවෙන් ටැක්ස් එකක් ගහනවද නැද්ද? අනිත් එක තමයි දැන් ඉන්වෙස්ටර් කෙනෙක් ලංකාවට එනකොට ආවම ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ මැෂින්ස් ගොඩක් ගේන්න ඕනේ ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ ෆැක්ටරි එක පටන් ගන්න. එතකොට ඒගොල්ලන්ට මොන වගේ ටැක්ස් මේ රිඩක්ෂන් එකක්ද දෙන්නේ? දැන් උදාහරණයක් විදිහට දැන් මම මේ දවස්වල මගේ ඉන්ස්ට්‍රුමන්ට් එකක් ලංකාවට විකුණන ඕපන් යුනිවර්සිටි එකට. ඒකට දැන් මම හොයලා බැලුවා ඒගොල්ලන්ට ගෙවන්න වෙනවා අමුතුම ටාතියේ පැල් කියලා එකක් තියෙනවා ලංකාවේ. ඒක පෝට් ඇන් එයාපෝට් මොකක් හරි charge එකක්. ඒක 10%ක් ගෙවන්න ඕනේ ඉන්ස්ට්‍රුමන්ට් එකේ වටිනාකමෙන් 10%ක් එතනට ගෙවන්න ඕනේ. ඊට අමතරව VAT තියෙනවා. එතකොට VAT 15යි අතන 10යි 125ක් ගෙවන්න ඕනේ. දැන් ඉන්ස්ට්‍රුමන්ට් එක මිලියන 7-8ක් වෙනවා. එතකොට ඒකෙන් 125ක් තව වැඩි වෙනවා ගාන ලංකාව ඇතුළට එනකොට. එහෙම ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා. දැන් ලංකාවේ ඒක ඉතින් ගවර්න්මන්ට් එකත් එක්ක තියෙනවනේ ගවර්න්මන්ට් එක ඒ වගේ ඒවාට ෆැසිලිටිස් හදලා දෙන්න ඕනේ ඉන්වෙස්ටර්ස්ලා ගෙන්න ගන්න ඕනේ නම් ලංකාවට. එහෙම ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා. දැන් අනිත් දේ තමයි ගොඩක් වෙලාවට අනිත් දැන් දෙන ෆැසිලිටිස් අපි කම්පෙයාර් කරලා බලන්න ඕනේ අනිත් දැන් ගොඩක් වෙලාවට ඉන්වෙස්ට්ලා යන්නේ චයිනා තායිවාන් වගේ කන්ට්‍රීස් වලටනේ. ඒවට යන්න හේතුවක් තියෙනවනේ. ඒ හේතුව හොයලා බලලා ඇත්තටම ගොඩක් තියෙන්නේ ඔය ඉන්වෙස්ටර්ස්ලාට ගොඩක් ලේසියෙන් පුළුවන් වෙන්න ඕනේ ඒ ඉන්වෙස්ට් එක පටන් ගන්න. ලොකු ප්‍රොසෙස් යන්නේ නැතුව. හිතන්නකෝ දැන් ගොඩක් ඔක්කොම ඔන්ලයින් කරගන්න පුළුවන් නම් මූලික දේවල් ටික. ඒ වගේ ෆැසිලිටි එකක් හදලා දෙන්න පුළුවන් නම් ඒක ගොඩක් වැදගත්. එතකොට ඉන්වෙස්ටර් කෙනෙකුට online check කරලා බලන්න පුළුවන් මොනවද submit කරන්න ඕන documents. All the documents they can download from the online website. Our government should have some website, okay, that should give all the necessary forms to invest, and all the taxes and things should be explained clearly without hidden things, okay. Then because people like to know everything clearly. If somebody comes there to invest and then they go to some place and if they asking some money, okay, something like commission, they don't like that one. Especially Japanese doesn't like to give commissions. Because if they are investing, they directly invest and they get they export their products. Okay.
Thanks Dr. Viraj. මේ කලින් සාකනේ මේ laboratory equipment නිෂ්පාදනය සම්බන්ධයෙන් NSF එකේ දැනටම අපි කතා කරගෙන යනවා මේක අපේ බෝඩ් එකේ කතා කරලා ડોક્ટર સુનિલ જાන්තන් නවරත්න ප්‍රොෆෙසර් ආනන්ද යාවදන ඒ කට්ටියත් මේකට ලොකු උනන්දුවක් දක්වනවා. මොකද අපි අර විද්‍යාව ප්‍රජාවට ගෙනියන්න 70%ක් ග්‍රාමීය ප්‍රදේශනේ. ඒ නිසා මේ අපේ මේ production of low cost laboratory equipment and science ware is a high priority concern. ඉතින් ඒකට මේ විරාජ්ලට අපිට මේ
I can help.
උදව් කරන්න පුළුවන් නම් ඒක මම හිතන්නේ අපිට විද්‍යාව ප්‍රචලිත කිරීමට ඉතාමත් වැදගත් වෙනවා. ඒකත් මේ NSF එකේ තියෙන මේ ප්‍රධානම ප්‍රමුඛ අංගයක්. taking science to the community, science communication outreach යටතේ අපිට පුළුවන් නම් අඩු ගානේ මේ ආරම්භයක් හැටියට මොඩල් ප්‍රොජෙක්ට් එකක් කරන්න. ඒ වගේම මේ අපි දැන් කියනවා මෙතන සයන්ස් බස් කියලා බොඩ්ඩක් හදන්නට වඩා සයන්ස් බස් එකේ අවශ්‍ය මොබයිල් ලැබ් එකක් හදන්න. හදලා ගෙනියන්න ඒ වගේ ප්‍රෝග්‍රෑම්ස් තියෙනවා. ඒ නිසා මේ ගැන අපි මේ විස්තර කතා කරමු විරාජ්. මේක මේ අදහස් ප්‍රකාශ කරාට බොහොම ස්තුතියි. මම හිතන්නේ කාලය දැන් මේ ගොඩක් අපිට ගත වුණා. අපි මේ පුළුල් පරාසයක සාකච්ඡා පැවැත්වුවා. කනගාටුයි අපිට අධ්‍යාපනය පිළිබඳ ඉතාම අදහස් ප්‍රකාශ කරා මේ අපේ විද්වතුන් කිහිපයක්ම. නමුත් අපේ මේ තියෙන වැඩසටහන තරම් මේ අවකාශයක් තිබුණේ නැහැ. ඒවට අපිට ඒකට සවන් දෙන්නයි තව කාලය ලබා දෙන්නයි. ඒක අපහසුයක් වුණා නම් අපි කනගාටු වෙනවා. නමුත් මම හිතන්නේ අපිට මේ ડોક્ટર සුනිල් නවරත්න මේ අධ්‍යාපන සම්බන්ධයෙන් වෙනම සාකච්ඡාවක් මම හිතන්නේ අපිට ආරම්භ කරන්න පුළුවන්. වෙන මොනවත් මේ කාලය මම හිතන්නේ දැන් පැය දෙකකට ආසන්න වෙමින් එනවා. ඒ නිසා අපිට මේ මූලික වශයෙන් වැදගත් අදහස් ගොඩාක් ප්‍රකාශන අපි සටහන් කරගත්තා. නමුත් ඒකට මේ අවස්ථාවේදී අපි මේ ප්‍රතිපෝෂණයක් ලබා දෙන්න අවකාශය තිබුණ නැහැ. නමුත් අපි ඒක නෝට් කරගෙන අය මේකට ඊළඟට chat box එකේ ලැබුණු අදහසුත් අපි අධ්‍යයනය කරලා අපි මේ ගැන ඔබතුමාලාට නම් සම්බන්ධ වෙනවා. ඒ නිසා අවසාන වශයෙන් මම මේ වෙන අදහස් නොමැති නම් අපි මේ ඔබ කාටත් මේ ගැන ස්තුති කරන්නත් ඒ වගේම මේකේ පොඩි සම්පීඩනයක් සමාප්ත කරන්නත් I invite Mr. Shanta Seri to sum up briefly. Shanta.
Yeah. Thank you very much, sir. අපි මොකද කරන්නේ තව එක item එකක් තියෙනවා from the /com අපි ඒක විනාඩියකින් whether we give Mr. Ashik about the platform before I start the conclude. Mr. Ashik, if you could do kind of presentation, I mean elaboration within 1 to 2 minutes about the platform will be timely, very appreciative. Mr. Ashik.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Shanta, and thank you, Professor Senaratna and Professor Prasad Javira. Dr. Navaratna is there, Professor Anand Javadana is there. They all been associated with our industry. So /com basically represents the IT BPM industry in Sri Lanka. Since we just spoke about some of the GDP figures and the growth, we were in 2004, we were $70 million in export. And by 2014, we had reached $600 million in export. And last year, we were $1.4 billion in export. We have now close to 115,000 people working in the industry with an average salary of $1,200 per month. So this is an industry which is very well poised in a very high growth trajectory to achieve some of these national goals we spoke about earlier in the conversation. Dr. Navaratna is very well aware during his time as Education Secretary how we collaborated in reforming some of the university curricula and expanding capacity. Professor Javadana is aware that we are now, in his capacity in UGC, we are working on a program with the Open University to expand capacity. So we are very much in a target. The President has a target of expanding the capacity to 300,000 people in this industry by 2025. And we are happy to say that we are very aligned with that vision in bringing that export income and employment generation to the country. I'll quickly jump on to a success story since we are talking to Japan. Before I jump into the platform, I'm not sure how many of you all saw this. This is a Sri Lankan startup company actually called Tracified, which uses blockchain technology to monitor freshness of food products, among other things. This actually won a Japanese investment from 360 IP Capital back, I think only about 2 months ago. So this is one of the recent success stories of.
Slides. I think we need to share the slides, right? I think we need to share the slides.
I'm sorry. Sorry, are you able to see?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so this is a company which I was talking to you about. This is a very recent success in Sri Lanka by a Japanese company taking. This is one of many. I mean, there are other companies which have invested in education, IT education, and as well as IT companies in Sri Lanka. Let me quickly, in the interest of time, move on to the platform itself. So this platform is almost ready now. We are in the testing stages so that there are no bugs or anything like that. So this is the home page where it explains about the objective of the project, and it has a simple registration form for people to eminent personalities to register, which NSF will invite. Once you've logged in, we have a discussion forum which basically is open to all the people who are registered. And there is also an article section which is allowed for publications to be hosted. Of course, NSF will curate this. There is a directory which is one of the more important aspects of this project, which basically lists everyone who is registered with their contact details, as well as the country in which they are residing, the organizations that they are associated with, and more importantly, the disciplines in which they are involved in. So this will allow us to connect people of disciplines and same disciplines together. They can search. And some of the other ideas that we are implementing came from some of the other presentations that we did for countries in in UK, US, Canada, and Europe. Is about some of the past institutions the people who are registering are involved with, and more importantly, a travel calendar, which I think Professor Senaratna will explain a little bit more to enable that as a feature. With that, I'll stop the presentation because in the interest of time, over to you, Professor.
Okay, thank you. Now, this travel calendar, if I very briefly expand, now if you say if Professor Kure or Professor Anand visiting, we would know in advance what time you would visit, where your plans, so that we could really harness that window to really invite you to give a talk or have discussion or conduct some workshop. So this type of opportunity this window will provide. So when you have about nearly now 600, 700 scientists registered, every month, January, February, we see, especially now, once this COVID problem becomes thing of the past, then we put them traveling to Sri Lanka, then like during homecoming, we will be able to invite them here. So that is the platform that Mr. Asik developing. That is very, very useful, and I think we can make the most of them when they are at home in Sri Lanka. Thanks. I think with that probably Mr. Anta probably now wind up now. So thanks our distinguished participant speakers.
Yes. Thank you very much, sir. So my concluding remarks will be very shortly due to the, we are lagging behind the schedule. So first of all, I would like to thank Professor Ranjit Senaratne, Chairman of the National Science Foundation, for your envisioning the platform and your guidance and encouraging and inspiring guidance. You are behind this endeavor. So thank you very much. And also our two board members of the NSF, Dr. Sunil Navaratna, Dr. Professor Javadana, and also Dr. Nanda Gunawardana, and being the PL principal liaison point for enlightening your experience with Japan. And also I wish to extend our sincere gratitude from the expatriates and the eminent expatriate Professor Monty Kasim, Professor Ananda Kumara, and Professor Kure, who delivered their generous willingness and genuine contribution towards development of the motherland with the harnessing their expatriates and experience and the links. and it was started from the education and S&T sector, and halfway through it, even discussion was somewhat to the industrial development and ICT, even high-tech sector. Of course, at the latter part of the program, some expatriate highlighted our system. I mean, apart from the S&T policy, tax incentives and our fiscal policies from the economic side also was highlighted to foster the foreign direct investment and the high-tech export. So all we will take in black and white, and of course we will be in touch with our eminent expatriates. I will, before conclude, I will highlight two things. One is we will send you the links to our digital platform, so that if you could disseminate with the other expatriates who are yet to register with our platform, please, our sincere appreciation if you could disseminate with that link, so that others can link or the register with the platform. Our main strategy is snowball effect. To last, the continuation will be done by our International Affairs Division, will take over by Dr. Mahesha Nadugala. So you will receive in the future by mails by the Dr. Nadugala will lead. So I want to introduce, but due to time limitation, I won't give the mic, but please respond, and I will also be behind. And thank you very much for being throughout, and look forward to be in touch with you. Thanks for all. Thank you a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
Many thanks, friends, colleagues from Japan.
Yes.
Probably they are, I don't know if they are gone or probably they are too late. Okay, many thanks. All.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, okay, many thanks for your part.
Bye. Bye. Thank you.
Dr. Nanda, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay.